So Patrick, do we, do we describe this for everybody, Rob?
What?
You
What?
describe it. You describe it. I
What?
do enough talking.
Whatever.
What?
I think any car's dead in iRacing. I think it's gone.
Oh, it's definitely. I agree. It's not going to survive much. But I still think we'll find opportunities to race it, just not as fruitful as before. Some of them just want to like make. What's the thing? Like that guy wanted to make like dolls out of Tyler's hair, but then there's just other guys who are just like. He did. He would say weird things to Tyler, man. Like he was a strange guy. And then like other guys would just show up and nowhere. He's like, "Oh, we never met you? Sure, come race this 24 with us." And then you just jump in the car and wreck us out in a lap and be like, "Okay, never see you again."
Yeah, that
like,
was
okay. Well, better luck next year, I guess.
That was the guy from.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome along to another season of the American Muscle Series, brought to you by Slow Motion Broadcasting. Here it's going to be another spectacular season. It was last time out, and now we're new and improved. I'm Tom Dillon. Alongside me for this race around Zolder this evening to open up the season is Adam Thompson. And Adam, AMS is honestly one of my favourite series to broadcast across this sort of network, and I have to say I'm very excited for this season 4, and particularly this race this evening.
Well, do you know what I'm excited for, Tom, is we've got the American Muscle Series owner racing for the first time since they've been broadcasted on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Randall McGrew out there doing his thing, so excited to see what he can do against the just amazingly fast Eero Nom. See if somebody can finally be able to get Randall, or be able to give Eero a run for his money, or if it's just going to be more of the same this season.
And if you are new joining us on the American Muscle Series, last season, Eero Nom, it's safe to say, ran away with proceedings. He won, I think, all but 2 races or something stupid in the end. He truly was the class of the field. And, well, early season indications in this pre-season of sort of suggesting a similar sort of theme. Eero Nom, 1:36.423, his fastest time in practice, by far and away the quickest time, I should say, in that practice sort of week leading up to this one. And, well, I think we're fully expecting the man who currently sits on pole position with about 2 minutes to go in the qualifying session. I think we fully expect him to continue that form. But, well, Adam, it's a new series, and we've got a few new things to discuss and a few housekeeping items, I think, to really get away as we get into this one. That, namely, is the main difference being there are only 2 classes now, aren't there, instead of the 3?
Yeah, there are. And honestly, guys, if you look at the top right now, you can see a Pro and an AM class. For some reason, you can see that little gray bar there, and I see exactly what the issue is there. So Eero Nom is classified as a Pro. You can see up there that he's also classified as nothing. That will get fixed for next week, but right now you guys are going to have to deal with it there at the top of the screen. But yeah, only 2 classes, Pro and AM. Randall decided to get rid of the Challenger Series, and I think that might mix it up a little more, actually, because if you can see the splits, green being Pro, red being AM, they're pretty even right now.
They are, and well, it's quite often we say that Eero Nom is in a class of his own. Obviously, on our live timing software, he quite literally is this evening so far. In terms of the technicalities about it, Pro category drivers are classed as anyone with 2.5k plus I rating, and they sport the car numbers 0 to 99, and the best way to show those is the classic Racing Stripes paint job, as with this wonderful car here. The other class, I should say, the AM class, has got stripes on the side of the car, and also numbers 100 to 199. So very intuitive, as usual for AMS. A couple more rule changes that I think we have to mention, mainly because they actually have an effect on how we broadcast these races this evening, and henceforth, I suppose. There is no live stewarding anymore. That is now going to be dealt with all post-race, mainly because our live steward is now racing in this series and trying to presumably win it, Randall. So no live stewarding, but this series is relatively clean anyway, isn't it? So I don't think that's going to be a major factor.
Yeah, I don't think it will be. I wish we could have gotten in here just a little earlier to give you guys a lap around this amazing circuit. But we'll have to do that during the race, Tom. And I have some faith in you. I think you can get it done. So we'll give you guys a lap around the circuit here in a couple laps after everything kind of calms down. Circuit Zolder is going to be one of those things that this track is just going to be wild. And if anybody can drive it, it's going to be these guys in American Muscle.
I think I've driven about half a lap around Zolder in my entire sim racing career. I never have come across this track really before. Here is the qualifying classification. Then, unsurprisingly, Aero Nam is on pole position, only by 5/10 of a second. Evan Hubchak in the number 7 car sits in second. Then it's Kevin Parrish in third. Matt Malone starts fourth. He's a returning face to the top of these standings. Then Keith Nelson Jr. starts in fifth, with Luis Enriquez in sixth. Jay Bast, Scott Banks, Fabian Zaya round out the top 9. Then Roy Baker puts it on pole for the amateur class. Then it's Jeffrey Robichaud, Eric Ronenberg rounding out the first page of our results. And it's Jesse Hodgson, Phil Keck, Anthony Castillo, Randall McGrew, the owner of the series, and Chuck Labano in 17th. He's second for the amateur category. David Kleiman starts 18th. Mike Thompson, Brian Howard, Edgar Sanchinelli, champion, no less, of the previous season in one of the 3 classes. I think it was amateur, wasn't it, for Edgar Sanchinelli. Jeff Andres is there in 22nd. Mike Nickham in 23rd. And Todd Hansen in 24th. Lots of drivers on this grid as we get deep into the amateur grid. 25th is Dustin Arles. He's one of the pro drivers. David Moore is an amateur in 26th. Jay Little, Charles Jose, and then Matthew Gazenda. Daniel Ott rounds out the top 30. James Rasley is in 31st position, with Dave Blair alongside him in 32nd. It's Matthew Thompson, Stephen Price, Scott Brooks, and Kenneth Estep in the 36th position.
Keep going. We're almost done, Tom.
It is Michael Pucic, Nick Batista, Roger Clark, Jeff Besnard, Chris Schulteis, Kenny Meadows, and finally, Race Control Rivera in 43rd position. They're not racing this evening. My word, I'm deferring that task next week, Adam. But well, this should be a spectacular race. Who do you think is going to win this one?
Well, so I would like to say, you can actually see here in our gridding that Mr. Race Control Rivera, and we're green. This was a standing start, so go ahead, Tom.
Oh, green indeed, and down into turn 1 goes Edgar Sanchez. I think he's going to hold on to this into turn 1. I thought it was a formation lap. That took me by surprise. There goes through the number 1 car into turn 1, leading the way. Edgar Sanchez, Hubchak in second. Matt Malone sitting down in third. He's challenged by Nelson actually through there. I think he's just about going to be able to hold on to that position though. Matt Malone. Here he goes down the inside of the number 83 car. On the number 2, down the inside he goes once more, brakes as late and bravely as he can, just about holding on to that position. I think Malone and Nelson still side by side. Malone eventually having to tuck in and into 4th position. Enriquez is sitting behind them, sitting pretty in 5th. Baker has made up a position off the start in the amateur category, 180 car. You can see him further down the order. He's maintaining his lead. And then further down the field, you can see not many major movements going on. Roger Clark and Matthew Thompson are having a battle. Thompson actually falling down a couple of positions. Hansen as well. He may have had a spin. Actually, he's really rocketing down the order, down into 34th at the moment.
We have a few off tracks here that we need to get to as well, Tom. Here, beginning of the lap, we had an off track by Eric Ronenberg going here into turn 1. See what exactly happened there. Oh, well, let me have to take a different look at that.
Yeah, Ronenberg just looking to get it all wrong, which is a little bit disappointing actually. He's been very good in this series so far. Eric Ronenberg qualified second today, I believe. He's starting further down the grid there and just round and into the gravel. That's frustrating for him. Not the way you want to get your season underway, that's for certain. The first season of 2023 as well. 1:45.1 is the fastest lap for Edgar Sanchinelli across the line. It is the first lap of the day, of course, so those lap times will skyrocket downwards. Little losing a couple of positions. In fact, I think Little might have had an off track. He's falling down all the way out of the top 30 almost, as he does. And
Oh,
switch to
that's a
the-
very
oh,
damaged Mustang there.
Yeah, it's more than an off track, isn't it? He's actually lost his engine. There's Jay Little into the pits. He goes. No fast repairs in this series this season. So he, Adam, as we watch what happened to him, is going to just have to fix that and might be in there for quite a long time.
Yeah, it looks like he's just gets it wrong, gets off into the grass, and just it's game over after the chicane there. Oh my goodness, how did nobody else make any contact with Jay Little as he's coming flying back across the track down the front stretch?
Well, everyone did well to avoid him there. I think that's for certain. He's now got a very lengthy pit stop ahead of him. Has the 103 car into the pits at this early stage. We are expecting a pit stop in this race. About 18 laps into this race, the pit window will start to open. Maybe 2 tyres being taken there. That's going to be an important strategy call that the drivers have to make towards the end of this one. But as we get on to lap 3 of this race, I think we're up to now. Hubchak is chasing down Hero Nam. Chasing down, I use quite lightly. Nam pulling out a 9/10 of a second gap, and now out of that 1 second margin. There we go. They move to start lap 3. And Hero Nam, he does love to dominate these races and pull away with them so quickly. And seems to be doing the same thing here. As 1:37.2 across the line, once again about 6/10 of a second faster than anyone else in this field.
Yeah, and this is one of those tracks that I think if these drivers are really going to show their raw pace. There are some straightaways here. As we know, these Mustangs do like quite a bit of draft, but if you can get through these technical sections quickly, it will pay off. And Aero Nam already, again, like you said, 1.4 seconds, 1.3 seconds gapping, and Hubchak is actually starting to maybe run into a little bit of an issue behind him. He's got Nelson and Malone and Henriquez and Bay. I mean, they're all right there, Tom.
He's a double champion already, is Aero Nam, having won the championship in the last 2 seasons, looking to make it a 3rd here. I don't know if he ran or won in season 1 it would be. I'll have to ask Randall about that one. I wasn't around for season 1, unfortunately, but I do know Aero Nam is definitely, well, probably the best driver to grace this series. I don't think there's much debate over that one. As we turn our attention to the amateur category, a brand new amateur category. It is Baker, Roy Baker, holding on to that all-important 9th position at the moment, and he's got plenty of cars in between himself and Chuck Lobano sitting down in 15th position. I always mentioned this in the previous seasons and in years gone by, that it's so important to get those cars between you and the guys that are in your class. They can really decide the race. Here is Chuck Lobano, got a little bit of clean air.
Yeah, you know the car that's not getting much clean air. It's Anthony
Oh,
Castillo. As we got it off, that's
67.
Randall McGrew.
Oh dear, Randall. Around and into the wall. He'll get it back going again. Just has to wait for everyone.
Oh,
at the
no!
Oh, that's not what it is. Oh, it's a colossal accident. Oh, there's someone in the air. It's Antonelli, I think.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, so we're gonna move on back up here to Aero Nam for now. Look at this; he's about 2.5, almost 3 seconds now ahead of Keith Nelson Jr., who has made the overtake. Looks like Hubchak's fallen down. I don't know what exactly happened to him either, but he's now out of the mix. Matt Malone there in 3rd place with Henriquez and Scott Banks rounding out your top 5.
Well, we knew we were going to see some fireworks from Randall McGrew, as we often do when he races in whatever discipline. And well, there's some fireworks rather early on from Randall McGrew, who's now out of the race to my knowledge. He adds to Gazenda, Ott and Hosier all out of the race at this stage. Andres also a lap down. Whether he's going to play any further parts, I'm not too sure. Here as we look at Evan Hubchak.
Yeah, so I have found the replay. We'll see what exactly happened to Evan. You can see Randall McGrew is behind him at this. No, Randall McGrew is in front of him. So I wonder if something's happened to Hubchak. Oh, no, that is Nam. So Hubchak gets just way loose out of turn 2 and just, my goodness, tries to save it. I think he does. Keeps it off the wall, which is a good thing, but loses multiple positions. He's down to 12th in class at the moment.
Again, frustrating. I always think in race 1 you want to be making sure that you hold on to your position as well as possible and just get your season off to a good start. Here's Nelson. He's having a battle with Matt Malone. These two have been pretty nip and tuck throughout the course of this race. Now fighting for second position. Malone's going to pull out of the slipstream. Perhaps a chance into turn one. It's a very tight corner. This turn one, not the easiest place to make a move. And in fact, he's not going to. I say tight corner. I suppose you'd call it a rather open chicane. Either way, it's a difficult place to make a move. And Matt Malone is going to pull out of it on that occasion. He stays in the slipstream though. First section of the circuit coming up. Holds on to the position once more. Not really able to make much ground up here, Matt Malone. Just patience game at the moment. Looks like there's been an issue here for Luis Enriquez. He's got a little bit loose out of that particular section of the circuit. Holds on to this fourth position. Knows that any mistake above will give him that all-important podium. Scotty Banks, however, is trying to attack him.
We have a YouTube chat here from Randall McGrew. Just popped in to say, who's an idiot? This guy. Randall, for your sanity and my sanity and everybody's well-being, we decided to not go back and replay that wreck. So, Randall, you're welcome for that, and you've got a few apologies to make, my friend.
Slightly, and well, I'm sure he'll be investigating himself in the race report section a little bit earlier on, later on. There is a move almost down the inside of Luis Enriquez. Scotty Banks not quite able to find anything just there. 0.2 of a second that gap remains. Still pressing is both Matt Malone and Scotty Banks for their respective positions. This could actually turn into quite an interesting battle a little bit later on into this race. Here he goes. As we go down to the amateur class leader of Roy Baker. Number 180 car holding on to this position very, very well indeed. I can't really tell if Chuck Lobano's gaining on him too much at the moment. Running in traffic, just making sure that you don't do anything stupid. You don't get caught up in someone else's accident. And that's what Roy Baker is doing. Touch wood right now. And he's under a little bit of pressure from Hodgson just behind him. Slight lock up there. Won't do him too many favours. Hodgson, no doubt, looking to get past as quickly as possible. New scoring system this season. I think it's 2 points for every position, is it not? So I think first place. Well, actually, I'm not going to try and work that out. I don't know if you have any news on the scoring system. I thought maybe it was... No, I can't figure it out.
No. I think that would be something that only the people doing the points can and need to figure out. The point system is a little bit different this season, and if we had more time, maybe next week on the intro, we can read through how the point system actually works. And yeah, we'll get it to you. Jonathan, you're very funny.
Scotty Banks has got past Luis Enriquez. That unleashes him to try and have a go at Matt Malone. That being said, Aeronam once again has checked out in his 4.4 seconds ahead of the competition in the number one machine. Here's Enriquez still holding on to the back of Scotty Banks, not wanting to lose touch with this battle for second, really. There's Matt Malone further up, still all over the gearbox of Nelson. They jump the curve, these Mustangs, so aggressive. Malone just can't find a way through, and I do wonder how much of this is a case of he's sitting in here and waiting for the move to present itself rather than actually trying to actively make this pass. It might work for him actually if he's staying in that slipstream. I just think it all depends on race management, which is so important in this series. Here's Phil Keck. He's holding off Robichaud at the moment. Baker is involved in this little pack as well, though I think Baker really has to stay out of trouble at this stage in proceedings. 88 got.
Baker's in a very good position right now. 4 positions ahead of his closest AM challenger of Chuck Lobano. So doing a great job there. Just like you said, just trying to keep it clean. You know, the one thing that we've seen a lot already, and we're not that far into this race, are some people making some mistakes. Obviously, first race of the season, maybe trying to get some of the bugs out. As it looks like, Baker's going to give this position to Hodgson and just, continue to drive and just keep himself out of trouble.
Well, it can happen early on in this season. You've had a couple of months break and you're getting back into the car. I think Santinelli comes into the pit lane. That's not a scheduled stop, I don't think. He's obviously coming in for some form of damage. I think actually it might be a good opportunity if we can at all, as we see Sanginelli into the pits. There you go, repairing some damage. Almost certainly, if we could look at Chuck Lobano, we can talk about how he is now sponsoring this particular season in the amateur division. The generously brought to you by the son of one of the AMS drivers, Chuck Lobano, and his Twitch channel, Royal Smitiy. Go show some support and give him a follow at twitch.tv/Royal Smitiy. That's spelled Royal Smitiy.
And Mr. Royal, got a few of your Twitch clips up there. Looks like you were playing some Call of Duty, man. If you ever need a teammate, dude, just let me know. I'm not great. I have no idea what I'm doing. All I know is you got to point the gun at the bad guy and hope he's not a good guy. And I think I do okay.
Oh, I got called good on proximity chat in Warzone Elite, so I could offer my services as well, Mr. Royal. I then ended up dying to the guy's teammates, but that's a minor detail in my opinion. Baker here is going to have to get a little bit stuck in with Hoopchak here. He's just pressing him, and I think he's a little bit faster at this stage. Baker again not wanting to get caught up in anyone else's accident. You need to manage the traffic effectively. Is it really worth the extra points you may receive from just holding on to this 12th position? Just let him go and use that clean air you then get, knowing that 4.5 seconds is then the gap to Castillo, and even further back to Chuck Lobano, your nearest competitor in your category.
Well,
that being said, Hoopchak isn't making any moves too quickly, and there we go. Matt Malone has got past Nelson. I'm sorry to chop in there, Adam, but Matt Malone, that is a huge move. He's been waiting a while for that, and that unleashes Scotty Banks. In fact, it's an all-out war here for this second position. Banks is getting involved. In fact, Banks goes down the inside, just has to pull out of the move. Here is a replay of what happened with Matt Malone getting down the inside, I think, into turn one. Not the easiest place to make the pass. He's got the move done before the braking zone really starts there. Wonderful move from Matt Malone. He now holds on to second position ahead of Nelson, who I don't think is going to have the pace to hold on to. I think Matt Malone is showing to be pretty pacey in this race. Of course, not really near Aero Nam at the moment, but perhaps now he's unleashed into that clean air, he can try and make something of that gap and some inroads. I think Scotty Banks here, though, Adam, is in a really good position, able to attack Nelson. In fact, this might be exactly what he does. He gets a really good exit out of the final corner. Here goes Scotty Banks in the slipstream. So effective in these Mustangs down the inside. Maybe he thinks about it now. Tucks back in. Actually did come close to winning a race last season, didn't he, Scotty Banks, at the Nürburgring? Not to beat on that particular occasion.
Yeah, Scotty's come close quite a few times. He's always one of the drivers that are up there battling for positions, and you know, maybe hopefully one of these days he'll be able to get a victory. We got Randall McGrew in here in the chat. Randall, if you don't mind, why don't you come up here into the main booth and hang out with us for a minute? I don't think you're getting yourself back out onto track after that questionable rejoin, let's say, but we do have a few questions about the points, and I think the league owner might be able to answer those pretty well.
Lap traffic now playing a factor. Scotty Banks shows his nose at every opportunity to try and squeeze his way past Nelson. Scotty Banks once more trying to just stay in line through the chicane as everyone snakes on through. Here he goes, maybe a chance down the pitch straight once more through the long looping right-hander. Banks holding on, if you can just about see through the rather lovely textured trees.
Yeah, the iRacing cameras aren't the greatest here. I think maybe I should have invested just a little bit of time to try to get some better cameras on this track. Normally they're okay, but this one is not the greatest, so I apologize to the viewers who are watching this stream. Normally the cameras aren't this bad, I promise.
No, if this is your first slow motion broadcast that you're watching, well, you can see our upcoming broadcast later on in this particular stream, but certainly camera angles not great at Zolder. I was going to commentate Scotty Banks making a pass there. I thought surely he was in line to do it, but in fact not quite in the end. And well, probably a great opportunity to welcome up Randall McGrew into the commentary box. And Randall, I hasten to say it's probably not the greatest of debuts into being broadcast on slow motion broadcasting in the American Muscle Series, but you can explain us the points.
Yeah, Matt Malone off the track. Looks like he's...
Oh, no!
Oh, my goodness. What a save by Matt Malone coming out of the final corner down the stretch. Did almost the exact same thing as Mr. McGrew, but was able to hold on to that. Was unbelievable.
Was unbelievable for Matt Malone. He has lost out on that position that he fought so hard for. Scotty Banks is having to defend from Luis Enriquez at this stage, and it's so nip and tuck between his top 5, top 7 even. Look at Zaya, he's just there, just holding on to this. We are trying to bring you Randall McGrew in a second. I think he's having a few issues with his microphone. We'll get to that as soon as we can. There is Enriquez, just waiting to make the most of these guys having a battle. I think Matt Malone's still in a very good position here. That mistake won't deter him. He is the faster driver of them all. Here's Phil Keck.
We have a YouTube chat from Eric Mariah saying, P. Keck, raising heck. And you can see Phil's up 4 positions from the start, so he's doing a great job. Still sitting in a pack, but you can see that they're starting to lose quite a bit of ground to 8th place of Mr. Kevin Parrish. Don't know if they're going to be able to get that back up, so it looks like this may be a battle for, top 10.
I'm hearing the wonderful news that we can now bring you Randall McGrew. And Randall, not the greatest of days for you today, but welcome to the commentary box. Can you explain us the point system, please?
Who picked this track? Like, seriously, the whoever picked this track has got some serious brain damage. Almost as much brain damage as that guy that pulled back out in front of the traffic.
I think those are the same people, Randall.
Nah. Oh, so the points are. We went to more of an oval style point system. So for 40-minute races, it's 2 points per position. That'll make it 1 point per position for the 20-minute races. So when we have the doubleheader 20 minutes, it'll be 1 point per position there, and then 2 points for the 40-minute races. And then our 60 minutes races, it'll be 3 points per position. Because I can't have anything be simple.
And so, does that mean that you're trying to get the lowest amount of points scored, or is it? How does that work?
No. The P1 will get the max points, and then every driver after that will get 1 less per position.
Okay, wonderful. I think problem solved there. Is about halfway through this contest here, but in terms of this season, Randall, I think we actually had a conversation at the very start of last season. That was incredibly successful. There's a few tracks that have been taken off of the calendar, and some tracks been put onto it, like this one, for better or for worse. I think we know which side you fall down on the Zolder debate. But any races now you're racing this season you're particularly looking forward to?
Honestly, I look forward to all of them. There's not a bad track for the Mustang, in my opinion. Even as much as I'm joking about this track, this is a great facility, and it always provides really good racing. So I look forward to it every week. Hopefully I do much better than I've done today.
Well, you were 1 for 1 on races that I've commentated on you in, and you having won. But now you're 1 for 2, so the record is falling down. It's halved.
First or last, baby.
Well, perhaps the line you used in the XTC broadcast, not so true on this occasion. I'll let those who are interested go and find out that in-joke on their own. We should probably focus on the racing that's here, as we are trundling along. Lap 13 of presuming 24 or 25 here.
Yeah, we should start seeing pit stops here coming up. I would say probably within the next 3 or 4 laps. It's going to be interesting. Randall, because we have you up here in the booth, man, what's the tire situation looking like down there on track?
Oh, the tires are fine. There's no need to take any tires. It'll just slow your pit stop down. I think I was still 95, 94% on tire wear after a full fuel run. So it's really no big deal.
Well, that's good to know.
Always like a little bit of strategy, but I thought maybe we'd see some guys taking two tyres, so just the single, well, not even set, just the half set of tyres. They have got the freedom to do so, but evidently not.
Tom, I don't want to cut you off here, but don't look now, Roy Baker, but Chuck Labano is now only 1 position behind 4 battling for the AM class win at the moment. He's been making up positions left and right. He's got Anthony Castillo, and then Roy Baker is the next one up the track. Roy is a little bit up there. Castillo about 4 seconds behind, so Chuck's sitting about 6 seconds, but man, anything can happen. We've seen people making mistakes all night long. We've only been in here 22 minutes, and that final corner looks extremely difficult.
Yeah, and I think it's key to differentiate here as well between the gap that Aaron Nam's got ahead of him and the gap that Roy Baker's got ahead of him. Aaron Nam has basically got unlimited ability to speed up and go faster, whereas really Roy Baker can only go as fast as the guards ahead of him, which is going to be crucial if he is going to start to get caught by Chuck Lobano. He can catch up 4 seconds to Evan Hoopchak, but the question is, how does he then get past Evan Hoopchak and still maintain Chuck Lobano being behind him? So Roy Baker really here has got a little bit of work to do to ensure he wins this race. Needless to say.
Oh no!
As always, is that going slowly?
That was a massive mistake by Roy Baker. Again, and all of these corners seem extremely tough down that, especially that final corner. He's looking like it's really, some of these drivers are struggling. Lost quite a bit of time to Anthony Castillo. Now sitting only about, well, 2 seconds-ish. And you can see now Chuck Lobano sitting in the background.
There he is at the top of your picture, Chuck Lobano, in the camo liveried car almost. Number 113, and he really will start to feel like he has got a golden opportunity to win this race now. It's gone from 6 to 4 seconds in a single lap here. This gap for the amateur class league lead.
Yeah, this is going to get really interesting for these drivers. I mean, Aaron Nam looking like it's going to... Oh, my goodness, I'm glad I switched to this battle between Matt Malone and Keith Nelson. They're back at it again.
Malone will not lie down in this particular fight. Here he goes, trying again. He's just a little bit further behind than he was a moment ago. This is playing into the hands of Aaron Nam, who's already got an 8-second advantage in this one now. A second gained on the previous lap. Malone just not really able to find the move after that mistake he made earlier on in the race. There's a mistake from Nelson, actually. Might just invite Malone to have a little bit of a look. I think this might be one of those that's made or broken in the pit stop phases. We'll have to wait and see. Through the final chicane they go, sliding on through. These Mustangs so tend to do.
So you wonder how much fuel some of these drivers are saving right now. Nelson out there basically with nobody in front of him, catching lap cars every now and then. Looks like he's going to be coming up on Jeff Andres here, or Andres. Sorry if I got that one wrong, pretty quickly. But really, Malone kind of sitting in the catbird seat right now. Don't know how much fuel you can save in these cars. And you wonder if Matt Malone is maybe saving enough. He may not have to take as much fuel. Maybe just going to be the difference between a second and a third place here tonight.
I think another important factor to note is that the pits are so difficult in these cars that you can quite easily find yourself gaining a second purely from how you break into the pits and, you know, how you go through the pit lane. So definitely not over until the pit stops have filtered through. Scotty Banks is looking menacing as well. He's sitting there in 4th position, 3 tenths to Matt Malone. In fact, he's looking like he's threatening Matt Malone on this lap a little bit more than Matt Malone is pressuring Keith Nelson. So Scotty Banks, don't discount him for this 2nd position. Of course, for the win as well, if there is a rare mistake from Aaron Nam.
So this is one of those artificial camera angles you get in sim racing, but you can see a little bit of damage there on the right front of Matt Malone's car. Wonder where that came from and wonder if that's affecting him at all.
It certainly seems to be. He hasn't quite got the pace that he had earlier on in this contest. And now Scotty Banks, who's carrying a little bit of damage on his front left bumper himself, as I think is pretty customary, to be honest with you, in this series. There's a taker for the pit stops. And in fact, I believe Nelson's coming to the pits, Norm's coming to the pits, and Enriquez is coming to the pits as well. So this is a crucial moment in this race as Nelson Jr. comes into the pits. Enriquez there at the top of your picture as well. These are the early takers. We expected lap 18. We're going to get lap 17 that they come into the pits. 14 minutes to go in this race. There are the guys who have retired from the race as well. Matt Malone's going to take the lead of the race. He'll lead his first lap of the day. I think the most crucial thing here is to break the hearts of Aaron Nam fans. The Grand Slam now then is officially off for Aaron Nam unless Malone and Banks pit this lap. But Malone now leading this race has a chance to just put a little bit of a buffer on perhaps Nelson, who is battling. If he can gain a second on this lap and then have a good pit lane, he could really quite easily find himself in the lead of this race, and that's what we're going to have to go and wait to see.
So here on the right side or the left side of your screen, you're going to see the pit times for some of these drivers. Nam with a 12.4 second pit. Enrique is 11.5. Nelson with 13.5. So if Nam can keep this gap, he was about, or I apologize, if Malone can keep this gap, he was about a second back or so when Nelson decided to get into the pits. If he can just make a good pit stop, and 11.5 is possible. That's going to be the big thing. Is not, or man, I'm going to keep messing this up. Looks like Malone's going to go back around again.
He might just do there. Scotty Banks going into the pits. He's going to try and undercut Malone. Malone's going for the long run. He's going to overcut everyone and might just work for him. I don't think he'll overcut Aeronaught, of course, but maybe the guys he was battling realistically.
We got another YouTube chat here. Eric is very active in the YouTube chat, and I love it. Says Malone, more like Masloan, with P. Keck in all capital letters. Well, we know we've got a Phil Keck fan in the YouTube tonight.
Yes, absolutely, and well, love to see it, supporting all of the drivers. I always do love how well supported AMS is actually compared to, in terms of broadcasts on SMB. It's a very, very active series, and it's always lovely to see. Here is Phil Keck sitting up in third position at the moment in the number 88 car. Has a chance to hold on to this, I have to say. Chuck Labano, by the way, is to have a look at the amateur class for a moment. Chuck Labano has taken the lead of that, though, of course, it's going to be provisionally at best, I believe. I'm trying to look further down the order.
Yeah, I did.
See where the actual leader
just do that.
of this class is, and I have to say, I'm not really finding him. This could be an interesting spanner into the works. Maybe Labano. He's going to manage to get this win. Have to wait and see.
Yeah, this is different, actually. Looking down the order here, trying to figure out where... Oh, there's Roy Baker there in 20th place. So he's definitely coming to the pit. His pit time, looking here, was 13.6 seconds. Chuck Labano's really going to have to turn on the jets here. Jay Bass now into the pits. Matt Malone going around one more time even.
There's absolutely no stopping for Matt Malone. I wouldn't be surprised here if he just tried to extend the tank and finished on fumes. But no, in this lap, almost certainly now, if he's managed to save 2 laps of fuel on what we expected, then I would be mightily surprised. Here's Labano into the pits, and this is going to be a deciding moment in this amateur class battle. Can he get stopped into that chicane as quickly and efficiently as possible? Just able to get the car stopped. And now, time to see if he is indeed going to be overtaken by Roy Baker, or if it is actually going to be Chuck Labano's day in this category. Filters through back outside of the top 10, we imagine, of the overall positions. Blair takes the lead of the amateur class, then he still owes us a pit stop, I believe. Keep an eye on Baker in P20.
Coming through the field now, you can see him. He's about to cross the line. Here comes Labano out of the pits. This might be close, but I think Roy Baker is going to get it.
I think Roy Baker will get it. It's going to be so close, though, as here he goes through into turn 1, and I think he's got it. He has got it on Chuck Labano as the pit lane exit is just that little bit longer for him. And in fact, I say he's just got it. He's got it quite consequentially, actually. It's gained him about a second and a half, I think, on Chuck Labano, and also, more crucially, has put plenty of cars in between them. But that could be a battle still that we see towards the end of this race. I say towards the end of this race, we've already got about 9 minutes left.
Yeah, this race has flown by so far, and you can see the pit times there. Chuck Labano with a 14.3 second pit, Roy Baker with the 13.6, so lost almost a second just in the pits. And I think you were right, Tom. I think you can really make or break your race on pit entry in this car.
Absolutely. Randall will have to confirm for me, but I believe they don't have a pit limiter, so that is an extra thing to keep a lookout for. I haven't driven much of them. Could barely get them around the track, to be honest with you. But that's beside the point. Matt Malone has come into the pits. He's now on pit exit. There goes the 136 into the pits as well. That's Dave Blair. He'll concede the lead of the amateur class. Then can Matt Malone get himself out ahead of Luis Enriquez? This is going to be crucial. Luis Enriquez, by the way, has managed to get up into third position. Can he get into second as well? Matt Malone goes around the outside and into second position in this race. 10 seconds to Aero Nam, but a nice 1.5 second buffer back to Luis Enriquez. So to be honest with you, he's probably the biggest winner out of these pit stops.
Well, look
now,
at his
him
pit
and Scotty
time.
Banks.
Look at
Him and Scotty Banks are going to be the battles for third. I apologise, but yes, you're right. Look at his pit time. A second and a little bit faster than those around him.
Yeah, that was an unbelievable pit stop by Matt Malone. Now, this is just going to be all down to pace. Enriquez, Banks, Nelson, even Jay Bass back there still has a chance. Fabian Hoyer, who we haven't talked about at all yet, is also in this group. It's really, this is all going to be down to time. Again, mistakes. I've talked about it, and I'm going to talk about it again. Mistakes are going to be what will make or break you for this top three.
Absolutely. I think that's hit the nail on the head right there. Here's Enriquez trying to defend from Scotty Banks, who now seizes his opportunity. Down the inside goes Scotty Banks and gets into the podium position. It's a wonderful move into the chicane, and Luis Enriquez cannot do anything about that. Now he has to turn his attention to Nelson, who might just fancy his chances here. Scotty Banks moves up into third position. He can now chase after Matt Malone. His efforts may just be futile with about 6 minutes to go in this race. Probably about 4 more laps as we switch our attention to Justin Arliss for a moment, sitting down in 19th position. He's got Edgar Sancinelli to try and chase. No doing for him just yet, however, and I think that battle between Enriquez, Banks and Nelson, and maybe even Matt Malone towards the end, is going to be absolutely crucial.
Looks like Randall McGrew has found himself back out into the race while still sitting here in the main booth, and that is one very, very, very destroyed Mustang. I know these cars can drive with some damage, Tom, but that one's got quite a bit.
A couple of laps down is Randall McGrew. Maybe if we have a daughters in the hair moment, he might just be able to get back into this one. But testing in the car, I suppose, it's always good. And probably going to have, realistically speaking, I think it's all fair to say, a pretty hefty penalty regardless of what happens. I mean, we've all had that moment, haven't we, where we just haven't quite checked our relative and we've ended up spewing ourselves across the road and taking people out. Maybe not quite sent them flying, but
yeah, that was a bit of
that
was definitely a bit of an unfortunate incident for Randall, and I can't say I haven't done the same thing. Even checking the relative, thinks he's clear. You could tell he was trying to wait, and then unfortunately, maybe tried to look left, thought his relative was clear, but the closing rate of these cars, that chicane really doesn't slow him down that much as we just watched Jay Bass drive through it, because we've got a battle right in front of him.
We do. Nelson's now going to try and attack Enriquez down into turn 1. This is going to be crucial if he wants the podium position. Enriquez goes wide and deep, and there goes Nelson, a chance to get through into turn 2. I think here Enriquez braves it out on the inside and is just able to hold on to it for the time being. The switchback presented itself for a moment. Nelson not able to sneak it down the inside though, and his chances at a podium just start to hither away from him. 5th position at the moment and about a second and a half up to Scotty Banks. Here he goes again though, catching up to Luis Enriquez with every single exit out of the corner. Maybe a chance to present himself down the inside. He brakes and just can't quite pull alongside. Enriquez holding on quite firmly at the moment, but Nelson, he's driven so well for a P2 here, and he's finding himself through the pit stops in P5. Perhaps a fuel consumption issue, but either way, I think he'll feel particularly hard done by, Adam.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to say the least. I mean, really in a commanding position for most of the race. 13.5 second pit stop compared to Matt Malone's 11.2 just absolutely destroyed his chances. Matt Malone just absolutely creamed that pit stop. Scotty Banks, though, I'm saying that. Matt Malone was way ahead of Scotty Banks coming out of the pits, and he is very slowly getting to the back of Matt Malone. Keep an eye on this battle, guys. You can see it up on the top left. Let me know on the YouTube if it gets a little closer, but this may be the one we're watching at the end of the race.
I think it will be. definitely is going to be between one of these 3 guys, one of these 4 guys even, to get that P2 spot. My money's on Banks, to be honest with you, if I was a betting man.
Well,
We look down to Chuck Lobano and Baker. They haven't
Yeah.
caught up to each other, but they are the next cars on track.
yeah, so this is, you can see, Roy Baker has Kenneth E-Step in front of him, and that's really going to be, slowing him down quite a bit. The gap is only 3 seconds to him and Chuck Lobano now at this moment. Edgar Santinelli now in between them. Looks like you gotta wonder if Santinelli is a very, very quick driver. If Lobano, as he goes wide, see, this is why I just don't talk anymore, but if he can just stay behind Santinelli, he may be able to get him up there to Roy Baker. The question is, can he do it in 3 minutes? And the answer to that, I think, is probably no.
Going to be a lap and a half to go, I think, at this rate, unless Aerodam can squeeze another lap out of this race, which I don't think he'll be in a great rush to do. So I'd say that this is Aerodam. He'll probably set 3 fastest laps in a row now and we'll go for 30 laps. But anyway, it's beside the point. Scotty Banks still trying to attack Matt Malone. 8 tenths per second. It's sort of hovering around that area. 4 tenths per second between Enriquez and Nelson. More crucially, 1.2 between Enriquez and Banks. That's what we're going to be keeping an eye on in the last minute and a half of this race or so. There's been a move as Parrish has got past Rubischau, who has in turn been passed by Keck as well. And there you can see Keck having to fall down the order ever so slightly. Here is Kevin Parrish, rather athletic, and there goes round Rubischau in the number 24 and about avoids. I think that was
Hubchak that got through there, and Hodgson just got through there as well. But I think Hubchak may need to go in for, may need to go to the restroom after this race, because that was extremely close, going through one of the fastest, the fastest, we're going to call it a corner on the track, the chicane before the start-finish line there.
Aerodam has started another lap, I think, and I'm not too sure whether 40 seconds to go, is he going to squeeze another one in, or is this indeed going to be the white flag lap? I'm not too sure. Let's wait and see. On board with the double champion of this series then, looking to make it a third, and on evidence of today, almost certainly going to have a chance to make it a third. We'll keep an eye on him. 4 tenths of a second between Banks and Malone. That battle is heating up. 20 seconds to go. I think we're going to squeeze another lap in here, and then it's going to be gloves off between Malone and Banks. Crossing the line is Aerodam. 10 seconds to go. This is going to be really close. Actually, checker flag is flying, I think, for some reason. Is he going to be able to cross the line in time to make it one more lap? And no, it's going to be checker flag. He's won it. Aerodam's going to win it, and now Scotty Banks, who thought he had another lap, is just going to get held off by Matt Malone, who finishes in second position. Enriquez has no chance to get onto the podium. Nelson finishes in 5th. That was an overly dramatic finish for someone who's 10 seconds in the lead. There's Zoya in for a drive-through penalty, I think.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for the last lap. That's going to be a very big problem. It looks like, everybody's all good for now. Going to keep filtering back through here, looking for some battles coming through the rest of the field here.
You see David Climate, he's going to hold on to 14th position. We want to look at Roy Baker, make sure he can hold on to 16th and the win in amateur, which he can. Lobano finishes in second. Now, one more podium position up for debate there, and in fact, it's going to be close as Blair and Buchik are having a bit of a battle. It's going to be a photo finish across the line for the podium in amateur, and it's going to be Blair by a very slim margin, there.
Unbelievable.
Just holds on to that one. 7 tenths of a second for Buchik. Faster on that lap. Not quite able to get over the line, though. That was a surprisingly close finish. There's a few more stragglers just crossing the line. Brooks and Schultes. And Adam, I'm going to offload the the results calling duties, and I'll give that over to you.
All right, well, I can definitely take that here as we're waiting on Mr. Chris Schultes to get across the line, and then we can go ahead and get these results out to you. A lot closer at the end than I thought it was going to be. There was a bit of a what's the word? It kind of spread out there until we got to, after the pit stops, and Matt Malone just with an absolute masterclass of a pit stop. But now I can get these results up for you. And as we know, Ironam takes first place with just a massive gap to Matt Malone. 10 seconds in the pro class, with Scotty Banks very, very close, actually. Only 0.4 of a second across the line. Luis Enriquez there in 4th. Nelson 5th. Jay Bass 6th. Kevin Parrish 7th. Phil Keck 8th. Evan Hubchak in 9th. With, I lost my spot. Jesse Hodgson in 10th. Jeffrey Robichaud 11th. Anthony Castillo 12th. Clymer 13th. Brian Howard in 14th. Roy Baker brings home the AM class win, but not by as many as I think he thought he was going to. Only one position separated him and Chuck Labano, and Chuck Labano was definitely closing in. Yet another example of pit stops, I think, that really hurt Chuck Labano. Chuck Labano there second in class, with Dustin Allis there in 18th in the pro class. 19th is Eric Rodingberg, Mike Nickerman 20th. Dave Blair very narrowly gets the win against Michael Puchik there for 3rd, the last spot on the podium for the AM class. Fabian Zoyer 23rd, David Moore 24th, Todd Hansen 25th, Matthew Thompson 26th, Scott Brooks 27th, Chris Schultes 28th, Besnard 29th, Clark 30th, Batista there in 31st, Thompson 32nd, Price, Estep, Guzinda, and Andrus. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to get through these as quick as I can with Rashley McGrew, Charles Jose, Daniel Ott, Jay Little, and Kenny Meadows will round out the rest of your field tonight.
And just quickly, I want to shout out one thing, and that is the Etsy shop that you can get some AMS swag, apparently. I'm not too sure about the use of the word swag, but very nice mugs. You can go and get those over on etsy.com/shop/dnutstuff. Very interesting name, but I have to say I've had a look through it, and actually the mugs look very nice. You can get customized with your name and everything. I would happily drink out of one of those. But anyway, we can go on to the interviews, and Aero Nam is waiting for us in the interview waiting room, and Aero, well, I'm looking forward to making our little chats on the podium a weekly thing once again for the next 12 weeks or so, and yet another absolutely dominant drive. The only thing denying you from the Grand Slam, yet another Grand Slam, I should say, is the fact that you pit earlier than the guys around you, but not really anything you can say that was wrong with that.
Yeah, I was trying to maybe cut the traffic and to come out clean, but yeah, it was very tough race. Actually, because I had so much issues since the last race. My gaming PC is not working, it's crashing. So for this race, I had pretty severe underclock for the CPU, and it was stuttering so bad, especially in the hairpins and corners.
And in terms of your titles, to my knowledge, you've won 2. Correct me if I'm wrong, you may have won 3, but can you make it? From what I know, would be a 3rd in a row.
I think, yeah, I don't know. I practiced a little more for this race, how to get my PC running again normally. But yeah, there are so many drivers now, so it will be closer, I think, than it was today.
Final question penultimate question before I let you go. Actually, in terms of the season coming up, it's a much different calendar to what we had last time out in season 3. Are there any particular tracks that stick out to you, or something that you're very excited to get stuck into here?
I haven't watched what tracks that we are racing. I just take 1 week at a time.
Arrow, before we let you go here, speaking of calendars, as you can probably clearly tell, Tom Dillon is not from the United States of America, and he was talking about having to be awake at 2 o'clock in the morning for the race that he's got to cover here on AMS, and I wouldn't say complaining, just talking. So, Eero, I want to know how you do it. I mean, because it's clearly, from what Tom was telling me, it's probably 4 o'clock in the morning there. So what is your strategy to get up and run this AMS race?
It's 5, so my strategy is not to go sleep. I I work from home, so it's perfect. I can do whatever I want.
Well, that's the answer that I think I needed to know, Tom. I'll hand it back over to you.
Well, I have to say, it's quite a miracle. I was up at 6 o'clock yesterday morning, and it's now 3 o'clock the next morning, and I'm starting to flake a little bit, Aero. And I don't think I'd be in any state to drive like this, particularly drive like that and win the race. But I'm very excited to go to bed, I have to say. But anyway, anyone you'd like to shout out on the broadcast before we let you go?
Yeah, I like to thank the admins, the league organizers, the sponsors, all the drivers here, and you guys in the booth.
Thank you very much, Aero, for joining us, and go and enjoy a well-deserved rest. 5 o'clock in the morning is an ungodly time of the night, well, of the morning actually, to be up, and well, it will be well-deserved.
Thank you.
And so, as we thank Aaron Arm for joining us in the booth, we'll drag him out back into the interview waiting room. We've got, I believe, the upcoming broadcasts coming up, Adam. If you could drag those onto the screen, if they are indeed ready for us.
We absolutely do. So, upcoming broadcast is going to be interesting, actually. So, we've got slow motion broadcasting covering the Cross Series League Racing Series. I can't believe I got that wrong. Slow motion broadcasting is covering Cross Series League Racing, which is my league, Sunday, January 22nd. We're going to be at which this is wrong, I can tell you. So, if you stand by, guys, this is my company, so sometimes I make mistakes. So we can just kind of talk for a minute while I get the correct upcoming broadcast for you guys. In just 1 second here. Tom, what'd you think of the race?
I enjoyed it. I think it's well worth staying up for, and well, I'm actually quite glad I didn't go to bed in the end. Whether I'll be quite as optimistic in 5 hours' time when I have to be awake for college, I'm not too sure, but I have to say it was a wonderful race, and I'm excited to be back.
Well, I'm excited that I now have the correct upcoming broadcast here. Thursday, January 26th, this week is going to be the Spec 5 World Tour at Monza Combined. They're going to be racing the MX-5 around the combined layout of Monza, which includes the right-turning oval, so tune in for that one. And then on Sunday, the 29th, we've got Cross Series League Racing coming back to you again for the Radical SR8 at the Monza Oval, also right-turning. And then January 31st is going to be the FR500s S again here from the American Muscle Series at Donington Park over there in your neck of the woods, Tom.
You say my neck of the woods, literally an hour and a half away from me. If that is, it's very much my local track, actually, Donington. Very. You say local track. I only realised today that it's only got one N in it. I'm supposed to be going in a couple of months' time to Donington, but anyway, I've only just realised how to spell it. But definitely love the track. I also love how you say right turning oval. All of our ovals here in the UK that run our stock cars are right turning. So I don't really know what the fuss is about. But
does the water turns the other direction in the drain over there, right? Or is that Australia? That may be Australia.
Yeah, I think that's some equatorial thing. But anyway, I'll ask you, Adam, before we round out the broadcast for your closing thoughts.
Yeah, closing thoughts here. Randall McGrew, get better on your rejoins, please. And other than that, it was a great race. Great way to start out this season. And it can only get better from here. And I am so glad to have American Muscle Series back here with us and at Slow Motion Broadcasting.
Yes, well, thank you all very much for joining us, of course, on the broadcast, and looking forward to doing it all again next week, of course. Donington Park, very, very exciting indeed. Starting off a little mini British leg of the calendar with Brands Hatch and Snetterton joining the fray as well. Make sure you join us next week, and well, thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you all later. Good night.
Not. So Patrick, do we describe this for everybody, Rob?
What?
You describe it. You describe it. I do enough talking.
I think any car's dead in iRacing. I think it's gone.
Oh, it's definitely. I agree. It's not going to survive much. But I still think we'll find opportunities to race it, just not as fruitful as before. some of your like some of them just want to like make. What's the thing? Like that guy wanted to make like dolls out of Tyler's hair, but then there's just other guys who are just like. He did. He would say weird things to Tyler, man. Like he was a strange guy. And then like other guys would just show up and he's like,
Oh, I
"Oh,
just-
we never met you? Sure, come race this 24 with us." And then you just jump in the car and wreck us out in a lap and be like, "Okay, never see you again."
Yeah, that
Like,
was
okay. Well, better luck next year, I guess.
that was the guy from